Welcome into another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakeley. On this week's program, been a long haul cleaning up after the ice storm. We get an update from the city of Barrie and the county of Simcoe. And because it's Emergency Preparedness Week, we get some tips on being ready for the next bit of adversity that comes our way. And you know it's coming, just a matter of what and when. Barrie Colts have galloped into the sunset, their season ending with an Eastern Conference final loss to the Oshawa Generals. We take a look back and a look forward. Some special events coming up, one in support of Ralphie's Animal Sanctuary, another for the Alzheimer's Society, and still another to support the 705 Recovery Community Center. We find out how you can get involved. We get the conversation started after this. This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakeley, joined by Grant Durfey, the Manager of Emergency Management for the County of Simcoe. How are you doing?
Oh, not doing too badly. Happy the sun's out these days now, so that's been a nice change for us.
Yeah, especially with what happened 4 or 5 weeks ago. We're probably about 4 or 5 weeks late having this conversation, but that's the way the calendar is with Emergency Preparedness Week, which is May 4th to 9th?
Yeah, that second full week, or the first full week of May there, yeah.
Anyway, let's go back to the ice storm because it's still fresh in everybody's mind. There's still a lot of cleaning up going on. Let's get your viewpoint from the county state of things. How are things and where are we at?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure as people know, there's still going to be lots of debris and trees down there. I know our roads crews, our waste management crews are working hard. The thing we want to emphasize right now is that if they haven't got to it yet, just keep it there. They will get to it. The chipping crews takes a lot longer for those crews to get around, so they are going. You're going to notice those standard garbage trucks, they can only take those small bundles. So if you have small bundles, they'll grab them for you. The big stuff, we will get to it. It will take a bit longer. We're looking at probably still a couple months. It was such just a wide area that was impacted. So we are working on it, but we're still asking for some patience on that cleanup. It will still be a couple more months before we get everything resolved. So far, we've already exceeded our normal yearly amount of tonnage into our waste management sites for brush. We beat our annual yearly tonnage within a week after the storm. Yeah. So there's a lot of debris out there, but slowly but surely, we're getting it tackled.
Were we ready for this? I know you have exercises and you've got protocols in place. Was the community ready for it, do you think? We talked about it coming up to the storm. You and I talk every few months about being prepared, but were we prepared?
I think preparedness is one of those things where you can always do better. You're never going to be perfectly prepared for everything. You can't predict exactly what's going to happen. So what we try to do is make sure we have sort of all hazards plans. We're ready to go regardless of what happens. A couple specific plans there, and that's what we saw exercise. So there's definitely going to be learnings coming out of it, ways we can improve. But overall, we saw great collaboration between the different municipalities, both the county member municipalities, the independent cities, all came together. It was first thing Sunday morning. Those of us that could, in terms of the cell outages and internet outages, immediately started coordinating between the municipalities and all of the emergency services groups. So, we know we're still in that process of doing a review, so there probably will be things we can change for next time. But overall, I think we did the best we could in coming together as a group across the entire county and then working towards some of these solutions.
And that's one of the difficult things with the power outages. And as long as they were and as widespread as they were, it was hard to get information out to the people who were affected. A lot of them were literally in the dark for days. They had no idea what was going on or if anybody was coming to help.
Oh, absolutely. I know when I woke up Sunday, I have my work phone and my home phone, and neither one works. Luckily, my internet still worked, and I spent all of Sunday just on my internet doing Wi-Fi calling because that's all I had. And I think that's one, when it sort of first happened, you wake up Sunday, you think, oh, power's out, 1 or 2 days, we'll get through it. But then as we started to realize the scope of the disaster, just how widespread and how big those impacts were, we definitely felt some of those issues with the cell phones as well. We try to have backup communications, different providers and everything, but the backup batteries and the generators at cell towers only last for so long. So we are looking at additional communications there, but that was a struggle for everyone all through, was how do we communicate and coordinate this response? And it really wasn't till probably the late Monday, Tuesday when everything, at least some of that started coming back up and some basic cell service coming in.
So that's that 72-hour period that we talk about all the time, having a 72-hour emergency kit ready. Let's get people prepared for the next eventuality, which will come at some point, what do we need to have in that 72-hour kit?
Yeah, so actually looking back at this ice storm, I think we're almost starting to do away with the 72-hour wording and say it probably needs to be more about a week. And so what we're encouraging people to do is, rather than a blanket 72 hours, is look at where you live. Look at your location, look at what's around you. Are you in a rural area? It might take a bit longer than 72 hours to get out there. I know for me, it was about 4 or 5 days before I got power back at my house. So what we encourage people to do is the standard food, water, clothing, blankets, right? Extra things to keep you warm. But then also look at your family. Do you need medications, right? Is there extra supplies you need? A big one we saw during this was oxygen. If you have an oxygen generator at home, right, that needs electricity to function. Does it have a battery backup? What are the plans for that? That's what we encourage people to look at. And then also things like pets. No one wants to leave their dog or their cat at home if something happens. So do you have stuff you can easily bring with you to facilitate them coming out and staying safe in an emergency too? But really, it's looking at your home, looking at your family. Sit down and talk at the dinner table. If you were stuck in this house for 4, 5, 6 days, what do you need? And try to have that on hand.
Well, the other thing too is cash, and a lot of people don't carry it anymore, and a lot of stores weren't open, a lot of facilities weren't open. You couldn't get gas for a couple of days, or at least a day. But when they did open, they may not have the debit and credit machines working, and that's where you're going to need some cash on hand.
Yes, I am guilty of the generation where I just have plastic in my wallet the whole time, but I do keep an envelope of just small bills. You don't want hundreds or anything like that, but some 5s, 10s, 20s in the house. If you're able to have some of that on the side, absolutely. Because you might have power back, but cell signal down, so point of sale's not working. Having that cash there to help is absolutely critical.
We were fortunate that this hadn't happened 2 or 3 weeks earlier when we were in the midst of the dead of winter, and it was frigid.
Yes, yeah. We were a bit fortunate there that we didn't get super cold over the nights, but that's again where we encourage people, have those extra layers there. Also, have an evacuation plan. We always say for fire departments, how will you get out of your house, right? Where will you meet? But then, is there another location you can go to? Are there family or friends nearby? Or where are the shelters in your community, right? Look for those posted, or reach out to your local municipalities to see what's been identified in your area and know that ahead of time so your family has a meeting point should this occur if you're all not home together.
And this was the other gratifying thing that came out of this too, is just the way the community jumped in. People who were in a position to help did help. They're offering shelter, they're offering food, they're offering whatever they could.
Yeah, these situations are stressful. I can't imagine some of the residents who are out without power for a week or more in some cases. But seeing those people work together, whenever I was out at the Aurelia Center where we had our shelter set up, it was amazing walking in there, and there was no anger. Yes, there's going to be some frustration, but everyone was working together and supporting each other. And that's what we need in these disasters, is all of our response and recovery rely on people helping people, and that's what we want to try to help facilitate.
All right, we have some situations that could develop over the next few months. Let's start with thunderstorms, because they can evolve into something else. But thunderstorms in general, that's the protocol, the do's and don'ts. What do you need to be doing, even if there's just a hint of a thunderstorm in the air?
Absolutely. So we have the saying, when thunder roars, go indoors. If you're hearing thunder, don't wait to see lightning. Just remember it could be nearby. So you want to make sure you head inside. Don't be outside near anything tall. If you are outside, try to get indoors. Otherwise, if you're stuck outside, just try to make yourself low to the ground as possible, away from any high trees or anything else that might try to attract that lightning strike. And we do encourage, always make sure, check the weather before you're going outside. It might be a nice sunny day in the morning, but the afternoon, those clouds may roll in, especially in Simcoe County. We have amazing forests, trails, water areas. If you're going to be heading out for a couple hours, check the weather before you go and have some way to get weather updates while you're still out there.
And these kinds of storms are so unpredictable. So we get thunderstorm watches and warnings all the time, and sometimes nothing ever develops, and then people start, the boy that cried wolf kind of thing, and they don't pay attention the next time, and then it actually hits. So you have to be mindful of all that.
No, that's absolutely right. And I know sometimes I'll jump on the bandwagon too, where we get a warning and nothing happens. But the reality is our meteorologists are in a bit of a tough spot there, where if you say something and it doesn't happen, it's not good. But then if it does happen and you didn't say anything, you get the same blame there too. We do see a bit of a difficulty in our area with the bay and the lake, where they provide some of that mitigation and that warm-cold difference that can affect the weather. But overall, we do want people pay attention to those warnings. I mean, we're not going to replace what you can see outside, but remember, things can change quickly, and that's what we really want you to be aware of.
And the extra warning on all those thunderstorm watches and warnings is the risk of a tornado, which is always a possibility. We had that come up in a warning the other day. In fact, it never materialized here, but things got a little dicey down around Kitchener-Guelph, I think.
Yeah, they did. We had a mix of warnings come out with the storm a couple days ago. Possible tornadoes, supercell storms coming through. Here in the county, we see anywhere from 1 to 3 tornadoes on average a year. Thankfully, most of them are sort of that EF1 lower category in a more rural area. But of course, Barrie, Angus, we have seen them strike areas as well too. So being aware of those tornado warnings, identifying a place in your house where you can go. So we always say an interior room in the lowest level of your house is the best spot to go. If you're in a place where you don't necessarily have a basement or anything like that, find heavy furniture or something you can get underneath. And if you're stuck outside, cars are not safe in tornadoes. The best thing to do is if there's a nearby building, get in a nearby sturdy building. Otherwise, a low spot in the ground, make yourself as small as possible, and then just protect your head with your arms and hands, waiting until that tornado goes over.
Overpasses. We've had mixed messages over the years, but there's a new protocol there.
Yeah, we encourage people, don't shelter under an overpass. It might look convenient, keep you out of the rain, but that actually acts as a bit of a funnel and will speed up the wind going through, or underneath, I should say, that overpass, and can actually suck people and materials out with how high that wind speed is. So we recommend do not shelter underneath an overpass in a tornado or any type of severe wind.
We should talk about downed power lines in this case, and we had that situation with the ice storm as well. What's the advice when there's a power line down?
Yeah, when power lines are down, we always treat them as live. And this is one of the things that I don't want to say slowed down, but really made our sort of cleanup and response to the ice storm measured, is if a power line's down and trees are tangled in it, even our staff aren't going to go and address those trees until Hydro can confirm that those lines are safe. So always treat down lines as live lines and leave them be. And we're going to let the professionals in Hydro deal with all of those lines.
If you're in a car and one falls on your car, stay in the car, but don't touch any metal inside.
Yeah, just stay in the car. The car is going to be isolated. You'll be grounded with your wheels, but stay in the car. Don't try to get out, because when you try to get out and touch the outside surface or even the ground possibly could be electrified based upon the wire that's down. So just wait in the car. You're safe there. And then, again, Hydro and emergency services will come and they'll give you further direction on what to do.
Heat warnings and heat exhaustion and heat waves. How do we prepare for those?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily look to these services, but Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit does a lot of good warnings around both heat as well as cold in the winter. So I'd recommend follow some of their warnings and their advice. But when you are seeing those hot days, number one, stay hydrated. And that doesn't mean guzzle water all you can. It's small sips throughout the day. Ideally, something like water or something with some electrolytes in it. Just try to replace what you're losing. Also, take frequent breaks. A lot of people, sometimes when they go outside, they just start working, and by the time they realize they're not feeling very well, it's too late. They're already in that heat stroke environment. So take breaks. And the big thing is check on those who are vulnerable near you. We really want to encourage, if you have neighbors or elderly people or people less fortunate on your street, they don't have air conditioning, check in on them on heat waves, right? Keep the windows open, stay in the shade, stay hydrated, do your best to stay cool. And if it does get really hot, look for any cooling centers that are opened up by the municipalities and take advantage of those where you can.
There's Mother Nature wreaking havoc with us. There's another thing we need to prepare for as well, and that's fire. And being prepared in the house, having smoke and carbon monoxide alarms at work. Check the batteries.
Absolutely.
Twice a year generally, when we turn the clocks forward and back is a good idea. What else do we need to be mindful of?
Yeah, so when you're looking at for fire preparedness in your house, so you mentioned the CO, the smoke alarms, having fire extinguishers. A big one is knowing how to use it. We've seen lots of times in videos where people pull out the fire extinguisher, but it's got the pin in, the zip tie's holding it in place. They're not sure how to get it out. If you're not sure, look up online or just talk to your local fire department. They can help you on how to use those. Same thing for smoke detectors. You're not sure if it's good. Maybe you move to a new house. Where do you put it? Is the one there not working? They're always happy to help with that information. And I think we mentioned this already, but talk about a family plan. If a fire happens, what are you going to do? Where are you going to meet? What are your kids going to do if you're not there? Have that discussion ahead of time, so it's a lot easier in the unfortunate event should that happen.
And part and parcel with that is an escape plan from the house itself before you start going to meet somebody. So maybe you have 2 or 3 plans depending on the layout of your house.
Absolutely, and look at if you can't get out the front door, what are you going to do next, right? Every room should have at least 2 exits. One of those exits might be a window, and that's okay, but understanding that and identifying that ahead of time is really important. I know when I was a kid, I was on the second story bedroom of my house, and we had one of those fire ladders by the window in my room ready to go for my family. So again, having that discussion ahead of time so you're not trying to make those decisions in the moment is really essential.
So we don't have anything imminent happening that we're aware of right now. So let's everybody get prepared now. Start thinking about that now. Make it a weekend project with the family. Get the kids involved because they love this kind of thing.
Absolutely. And that's something too where if you have kids, add in cards, add in a bit of a board game to your emergency kit. Keep those kids entertained. So if you do find 6-7 hours that you're stuck, they have something to do during that, and absolutely a family activity because we don't know when these are going to strike. People might be at school, people might be at work. So you want everyone to know that information ahead of time, and don't just keep it to yourselves. Share it to other members of your family as well, or friends if they don't live in the same area. That way they're aware of what you're doing too and can help you out should you need it.
Lots of ground that we've covered here. There's more ground that we probably could have covered, but you have that covered on the County of Simcoe website.
Absolutely. So if you go simcoe.ca/be-prepared, you're going to find information there, both about the hazards and risks within the county, as well as some general information about emergency management and what you can do to be prepared.
Thanks for the insight, Grant. Always good talking to you. Hopefully we don't have to put any of it into play, but if we're prepared, we'll be in good shape.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
The city of Barrie still cleaning up after the recent ice storm. We're joined by Dave Fryery, manager of operations for the city. Dave, you've been around town for a long time, seen a lot of storms, a couple of tornadoes. Have you ever seen anything as wide-ranging as this ice storm was?
No, absolutely not. No, this is unprecedented. We had a smaller ice storm, 2016, and it was sort of centered around one or two wards, and the damage was nowhere near that. So, yeah, a couple tornadoes. They were sort of in one small ward. Lots of damage in those wards, but having something this widespread and citywide, countywide for that matter, it's certainly something new.
When you heard about it that Sunday morning, I guess, we were kind of preparing for something, but we didn't know exactly what was going on. We did the same thing here at the station. We knew something was coming and we're kind of getting ready, but until you woke up on that Sunday morning, nobody really knew what was going on.
Yeah, you're correct. And, to complicate things, many of the areas in Simcoe County were without power, without, Wi-Fi, internet service, and without cell service. So getting the information was certainly challenging. We met as a group on Sunday morning, actually, with our EMT and Barrie Fire, et cetera, and we were starting to come up with a plan. The first phase for us was just simply getting the roads open. So we actually had heavy equipment driving around the city, loaders and backhoes, simply just pushing the logs off the road just so emergency services could get around and navigate through the city. So that was the first phase of the cleanup, I guess.
Right, and then you have to get out and assess everything while you're still trudging through ice here and there and having to get past branches and fielding probably a lot of phone calls from people who did have phone service.
Yeah, and one of the biggest challenges was down power lines. So we couldn't get into certain areas until Electra got in there, ensured the power was off, and made it safe for our staff. So that delayed some of the cleanup. The assessments are still going on today. So we're plugging our way through, but it's a long process.
Take us through that process, because you would have to prioritize certain areas of the city because of the damage that was done or the necessity for services in that area.
Absolutely. So, the older areas of town with the larger, more mature trees, obviously that there's more damage there. So, we had to make sure that, any of the sort of trees that are hanging over roadways, over houses, things like that, we got to them ASAP. So we're just finally finishing up the roadways. So everybody's had one pass by since the storm. So we've got all the streets kind of done. We're actually starting into rear properties. So anybody that backs onto a forest or a park that the city owns, we're getting in there, and that'll probably take a few weeks. We've had over 300 calls just for those trees down alone into backyards. So that could take a little bit of time as well.
As you mentioned earlier, the scope of this, I mean, we've had 2 tornadoes and heavy damage, but in such a small area compared to what this was, and that makes it that much more difficult to get out and get to people when they want you to get to them.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to, tell the residents is just please be patient. The last ice storm, as I said, was much smaller. We were still cleaning up from that in the fall, and it happened Easter weekend in 2016. So we were still cleaning up in the fall from that. This is going to be, much more extensive. And, we're talking about cleanup. We're already getting calls, people asking about, when we're going to start replacing trees, so that'll be 2026, 2027, but, we've got a plan in place for that as well.
Yeah, I think people, they knew how widespread it was, but when it comes down to, well, this is how it's affecting me and I need action, I need it now, and I don't care what's happening with everybody else, whereas you at the city and people at the county level and the other townships, we have a much bigger picture that we have to draw on. Yeah,
and, things you don't even think of at the time, like we've had to sort of delay spring into clean. We've got trails, got 150 kilometers of trails, and, they have logs and limbs hanging over them. So, we've posted those trails as closed for everybody's safety. We'll get in there, we'll get them cleaned up ASAP, but, safety is our top concern. So, we just want to make sure we do everything thoroughly and we get it done right the first time.
If people still have questions or concerns, can they get a hold of you, or who at the city should they be contacting?
Yeah, anytime you have any questions, please contact Service Barrie, and they will navigate you through City Hall and put you in touch with the correct person. Some of the things, as you said, are people and wanting things, cleaned up ASAP. We haven't even started our scheduled cleanup yet, so, be patient. As I said, we've been around the city once doing one cleanup. We'll likely be through another time to do a cleanup, and then what we'll do is we'll post scheduled pickup days, and we'll let the folks know a week or two ahead that, hey, we're going to come by, we're going to be cleaning up any leftover debris. Please have it out by this time, and hopefully in a month or so we'll have everything sort of cleaned up and life back to semi-normal.
Semi-normal, yeah, waiting for the next thing to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are the wood chippers still from out of town going around the city streets?
Oh, yeah. We've got, on any given day, there's about 45 to 50 crews out on the street. So the 2-3-man crews, most of them consist of contractors. So we've got 3-4 contractors in town. We've transitioned from picking up some of the smaller brush in those smaller chippers and transitioned into much larger machines they've got big grappling hooks and they'll actually pick up larger logs and feed them into either a chipper or a roll-off. So we're trying as many different sort of techniques as we can to get things cleaned up, and hopefully we'll have it done soon.
All right. As you say, patience is a virtue, and you're getting there, and you will get it done as quickly as you can.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate the update.
Okay, take care.
Imagine being on display in a storefront window in downtown Barrie for 24 hours at the mercy of anyone willing to donate money to have you, say, run around the block in your underwear, or to grant you permission to use the washroom. It's happening this weekend to raise much-needed funding for the 705 Recovery Community Center. Candace and Nicole are two of the participants. They're with Barrie 360's Ian McLennan.
Someone comes up and says, okay, I hear about the 705, but what is that?
The 705 is a recovery community center. It's a hub that is right in the middle of downtown Barrie, 56 Dunlop Street West. It is a resource for anyone struggling with mental health or addiction issues. It offers a rental space for 12-step-based meetings. It does one-on-one counseling. It's a space for sober events,
meditations, relapse prevention, and a warming center in the winter.
And how long has it been a part of this community?
It's been going for 5 years now, and on average, we see about 300 people a week coming in and out of the center, either virtually, in person, or through our counseling services.
The 705 is hosting the 5th annual 24-hour window. It's a raise-a-thon for recovery to help the facility raise funds. 24-hour window, what's going on there?
So basically there's 4 participants. Each of us spends 24 hours in a window. And the purpose is to raise money to keep the doors open. But if you want to participate and help the 705, you can donate pranks or luxuries for one of the participants. So things like talking in a cowgirl accent for 10 minutes or doing a silly dance or wearing a silly costume. There's lots of fun pranks. You can also donate things like...
you can make our stay a lot more comfortable.
There we go.
Camping chairs, because we essentially start in the windows with absolutely nothing, and it can be quite uncomfortable. So pillows, blankets, chairs, snacks. You can pay to, donate us a coffee, because we're starting at 8 a.m. So we would love coffee in the morning. It's going to be a really good time, and where you go to donate, you can either come to donate in person with cash, or you can donate to the 705 Barrie at gmail.com.
And have you done the window yourself?
I have not. I really wanted to last year. I was going through some health problems, so I wasn't able to, but I'm very, very excited. I was able to watch it the last 2 years.
I also have not actually been in the window, but I have hosted for the last 3 years. And I have wanted to be in the window. Hosting has been a really amazing thing. I got to know all of the participants that have been in past years. I've actually been involved in the event since its first year. And this is just a drop in the bucket for me. I can't give back to the 705 what it has given to me. So any way that I can support the 705, I will gladly participate. So any pranks or anything that anyone wants to do, I will gladly participate if it raises money for the 705 and awareness for addiction and mental health.
Other than shaving our head.
Other than shaving my head. I will not do that.
Yeah, of course not. Of course not. But it must be a positive feel for the people that are in the window, too, to see that community support?
Absolutely. I think, as Nicole said, I would never be able to give the 705 back what it has given me. So to be able to do this is something super exciting. We really can't wait.
And not just to be doing it with anyone, especially the 3 women or the 3 of us women, we are quite close. So it's a bit of an added excitement to be doing it with 2 other women for me personally that I know quite well. And I see in my personal life as well. So it's... You've
both said you can't give back to what the 705 has given to you. So just very briefly, though, what did the 705 do for you, and how did you access this location?
So very briefly, I was a slave to my addiction and my alcoholism, and my moment of desperation sent me back to the 705. I found recovery there. I found a community of people that were able to guide me. And for the last just over 2 years, I have recovered. I've gotten my family back. My kids trust me. People want me around these days sometimes, most of the time.
And then for me, what the 705 has given me is, I haven't had a lot of family support through my recovery, and I've found a chosen family there, people that I see as my family, and they have taught me how to show up as a mother, how to show up as a friend, how to be responsible, how to be trustworthy, and how to live life with acceptance and grace, a little bit of grace, and it's been a wonderful thing to be a part of, and now I get to pass that on to others. in my personal life, and I'm doing it through my schooling as well. I want to be a social worker, so I just want to be able to share this with as many people as I can.
And what do you think is the biggest misconception? Because God forbid if you had a cancer or MS or something like that, you're ill, you're sick. You were sick.
Very. I think it's just a misunderstanding. People attack the things that they don't know. Addiction and alcoholism, it is a serious problem, and it is a sickness. And until, you find people who are like-minded where you can find some understanding and some coping mechanisms and learn that there is a better way, it's really hard to recover.
And how about you? Did you find that? Did you find people, there was misunderstanding?
Yeah, so in my active addiction and alcoholism, I didn't really know what was wrong with me and what the solution was. And one thing that I've come to learn is that ultimately I had to heal inward and then be able to project that outward. I had to heal a lot of parts of myself, and that gave me some peace and serenity. I'm a completely new woman now. I'm different than I ever was, and I can't give back to the program and to the 705 what they've given me.
And is there a website too if people want more information about the organization?
We're on all the social medias, so you can follow us on Facebook. It's just the 705 Barrie, and on Instagram as well. And we're constantly posting, our schedule of what's going on. We're posting whenever there's new workshops going on, and it's quite frequent.
The Barrie Colt season came to an abrupt end last week, losing 4 straight to Oshawa in the Eastern Conference Final. Barrie 360's Julius Hearn looks back at what unfolded and what may be ahead for the team with Colts analyst Gene Pereira.
Barrie eliminated in the OHL's Eastern Conference Final, a sweep by the Oshawa Generals in Game 4. Kind of put the exclamation mark on the series for the Oshawa Generals, an 8-4 win. Gene, what are maybe just your first initial takeaways, after that Game 4 loss from this series?
Yeah, obviously for Barrie, I think looking for a much longer series, and after getting swept, you can take solace from the fact that 3 of the games they could have won, and I think they look back at that as that opening game 3-1 loss with an empty net goal in Barrie where they played fairly well, and then the 2 games in Oshawa. A double overtime loss, and then 3-3 tied going into the third period, and Oshawa scores 3 goals in 93 seconds, and that's the series. And at the end of the day, 6 first-round picks on the Oshawa Generals. A little bit too much of Barlow and Seneca, and that was really just the difference. This Oshawa team was deep, and they're no doubt the better team in the series.
What were maybe some of the biggest differences you saw from this series compared to when the teams played in the first round last year?
Yeah, obviously Barrie was a much more experienced team. Some big additions, Bertucci and Romano and Wakely and Van Stiesel. So Barrie was a young club last year, a team that was going through a rebuilding, and I think they did much better than a lot of people expected, pushing that series to 6 games. After dumping at the trade deadline, and this was a team that was looking to make a run at an OHL championship with Barrie. They made some big additions, and they got to this Eastern Conference Final. It was kind of expected for Barrie to go this deep in the playoffs, and again, when you get to this point in the playoffs in the OHL. Obviously, 2 very good teams, but credit to the Oshawa Generals. They were just as deep as Barrie, and their big stars really shone in this series. And they had the big addition of Colby Barlow, and then of course Beckett Seneca, who is really probably the best player in junior hockey right now. I could easily see him in the NHL next season.
Yeah, 3rd overall pick from the Anaheim Ducks. Something I noticed just looking on social media across the CHL, 5 of the 6 conference finals in the CHL were all sweeps. What kind of trend do you see when you see results of those series?
Yeah, again, it gets to the point where, these teams really load up, and it's all about, junior hockey's a cycle. And when you build your hockey club, you look at it and you say, okay, 2 years down the road, we expect to build a winner. And, you make the moves, the appropriate moves, and that's what happens. You get kind of a little bit of lopsided results in series. And, you look at Oshawa, they were a really good team, went to the OHL finals last year and they're back again this year. And, they really didn't lose much. And they're, able to add a guy like Colby Barlow and Andrew Gibson on the back end. And, that's what's going to happen. You get teams that are willing to pay a huge price because the window is right there and then for them. And, similar to what Barrie saw going into this season, where they thought they could take a run for this year and then still have some really good parts next year to take another run.
Kayshawn Agerson, he might be back, but he's ranked 9th in the NHL's Central Scouting ranks among North American skaters, a guy that definitely could go high in that first round. Where do you see him maybe going in the NHL draft now that we saw the lottery results last night?
I've been talking to some NHL scouts, and, they really have him going high. I mean, they have him going from anywhere from 5 to 15, depends who you talk to. But, for the most part, I got from that 5 to 10 area. He had a huge year. He really impressed kind of the old school defenseman, big physical defenseman. But, in talking to some scouts, they were really impressed with how much his game came together offensively as well. And his ability to move the puck and that big-time shot of his has really caught the eye of a lot of NHL scouts. So I won't be surprised to see him going from anywhere from 5 to 10 in this upcoming NHL draft. And, again, teams may be able to look as needs, but, a big physical defenseman like that, any NHL team would love to have on their blue line, and just an outstanding year. And I'd be really surprised if he's there any later than, pick 10 or 11.
And 26 goals, 33 assists in the regular season, 64 games played. He's just 18 years old. Even if he goes that high in that 5 to 10 range, like you're saying, do you think he might be on the Barrie Colts next year, get sent back to junior?
Yeah, there's always a good chance that he's going to be back. I mean, at that age, and they might just let him come back to junior hockey. You want to see a guy kind of dominate at his level, and Kayshawn was very dominant this year, and I think, another year, he's still young. I'd be really surprised if he's in the NHL next season, but then again, I saw guys like Kyle Clifford almost make NHL camp, the NHL in their first NHL camp. So Kayshawn physically is going to be able to show that he competes, but I'd expect him back in junior next year and to be just that much more dominant.
This Colts team has a ton of guys that are, NHL prospects, looking to make a shot at pro hockey. Outside of Kayshawn Agerson, who are the big standouts for you this season?
Cole Beaudoin. You watch this guy, night in and night out. You often hear people say, he just, few people work as hard as him, but it really is true when it comes to Cole Beaudoin. In terms of work ethic, it's just unreal sometimes watching him and just march up and down the ice. Every shift is full out. He's a battler, and he really stood out in these playoffs to me as well. Utah has got to just be loving watching him. His ability to kind of just, march up and down the ice, whether it be defensively or offensively, one of the best penalty killers in the Ontario Hockey League, and, a guy as well that could put the puck in the net. But it's that work ethic. And you know what it does, too, is it rubs off on other guys. They watch him, just how hard he works off the ice, and then when he gets on, it's contagious. You have to kind of almost follow his will, and Cole Beaudoin really stood out for me. He was one guy. Another guy that stood out for me was Tristan Bertucci. And, they acquired him, and it took him a little bit to kind of set in with Barrie after coming over from Flint in a big deal. They paid a heavy price, but it was well worth it. He really took off when Bo Akey went away to World Juniors. He kind of took that mantle on the back end with Kayshawn Agerson, but he just was outstanding, and he logged a ton of ice time, and be it defensively in the shutdown mode or offensively his transition game. And the Dallas Stars, I think, have a really special prospect back there in Tristan Bertucci, and I think he took his game to another level. And it's just by the end of it, it's just the little things watching how he's able to kind of love guys out, keep the puck away from defenders, that type of thing. And he's a guy that I could see having a long NHL career.
Are there any other guys on this Colts roster that have potential to be picked in the NHL draft this year, even if it's in later rounds?
Benner Revick's another guy that he was really off the radar, and the young goaltender, just really impressed. And, by the end of the season, him and Sam Hillbrand were going back and forth, and you really had a question about who was going to start in the playoffs. Barrie went with Hillbrand, a little bit more experience, but Benner Revick just had an outstanding season. He really caught the eyes of NHL scouts. Another guy, Evan Passmore, again, just a big body back on the back end, keeps it simple. And he's another guy I could see going later in the NHL draft. And, again, he has that ability to be a depth defenseman in the NHL, just a big size, physical. And, Evan keeps it kind of simple back there. And NHL teams love that, a guy that can give you dependable minutes on the back end.
A lot of overagers on this team, or a lot of guys that may not come back. For those who don't understand, can you explain how the OHL's overage system kind of works?
Well, you're allowed 3 20-year-olds basically, and that's really the crust of it. And you get to a certain point that when teams that are competing, of course, you add those 19-year-old players. Other teams are willing to move them because you can only take so many overagers, or they're likely to go on to pro hockey. So you end up with some players that at the age of 20 that you got to make decisions on. And, Barrie's going to have a few here as we move forward for this hockey club. I mean, obviously this is a team that, again, is looking to make some noise next year. I think when you look at the returnees like Bodwin and so on, and Keyshawn Aitchison, and, they're gonna have some depth coming back. And, there'll be other guys like Anthony Romani, who we talked about, has not signed with the Vancouver Canucks as of yet, and I think it's a situation where he can return, or there's now the option of NCAA hockey as well. So that's something that Anthony will have to decide here in the short term. And, for the overagers for this year, for Bo Jelson and so on, who will move on in their careers, go to school or play pro hockey. So you're allowed 3 overagers, and there has been talk of possibly adding a 4th. Of course, the NCAA, the change in the rules that allow players to kind of play both at NCAA and play junior without losing their eligibility for the scholarship is really a changing landscape for the OHL. And you may see some of these older players go to school route, and the OHL is looking at different things, be it whether add an extra import in the CHL draft. They're allowed 2 now. They might be able to add a 3rd. It's something they're discussing. And as well, the overage situation where maybe you allow a 4th overager, and that'll bring some experience back to the NHL roster, so they're not totally young.
We saw the Colts draft class a few weeks ago get introduced to the crowd at Sadlon Arena. Are there any immediate impacts from that class that you're having an eye on that fans probably should know about?
Yeah, I think there's some. I mean, I think you'll see 2 or 3 of them. Obviously, the first round pick, highly offensive. I think you'll see him in the lineup. But there are guys this year that a couple of guys that stand out. One is Jonah McCormick. He was just again, he got a bit of a taste in the Ontario Hockey League this year, power forward type, and just talking to the trainers, and his commitment to fitness is just off the charts. Nutrition and workout abilities, and when you just watch his game, like, he's a guy that doesn't mind that. He plays that heavy game, that down low in the corners. He's a battler, and then a guy that's willing to go to the front of the net. Another guy, Ethan Armstrong, on the back end, joined from school. He's one of those guys that returned playing hockey at school, and he's another guy that I expect will start to have an impact on the back end next year.
Gene, I really appreciate you taking the time for me today. One more question before we go. Oshawa and London, the 2nd straight year they'll be playing in the OHL Finals. Just the 3rd time we'll have a repeat OHL Finals rematch. How do you see this series playing out?
Yeah, I think this will be a lot different than last year, where there was a 4-game sweep with London over Oshawa. I think this Oshawa team is much deeper. again, the likes of Kobe Barlow, Beckett Seneca, Cal Ritchie, Morelli on the back end. I mean, they're just loaded. I expect this Oshawa team, I expect it to be a long series. And I think it's going to come down to goaltending. I think, the better goaltender could win in this series. But London's been a juggernaut, and I know everyone's favorite. But I'm going to go with the Generals in this one. I'm going to go with Oshawa in 7. I think the upset, I think they're ready to take that big lead.
I'm really excited for this series. Gene Pereira, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Mark down this date, Saturday, May 24th, an important night for Ralphie's Retreat Animal Sanctuary. It's holding an In Bloom Gala to raise funds to help cover the center's expenses. MJ from the Rock 95 Morning Crew took manager Shannon away from the animals for a few minutes to tell us why this is such an important event.
For people that aren't familiar, why don't you tell me a little bit about Ralphie's Retreat Sanctuary?
Ralphie's Retreat Animal Sanctuary is a registered not-for-profit sanctuary for farmed animals. We're located in Wybridge, just north of Barrie, and our mission here is to provide safe haven for abused, neglected, and abandoned animals that have been farmed. So they will live out the rest of their lives here at the sanctuary, having all their needs met.
And what sorts of work do you guys do? I know you do some rehabilitation. You also do hospice care as well, because a lot of these animals, they do have special needs.
Yes. So approximately we have 120 animals here at the sanctuary, and approximately 60% of the animals are either aged or have some form of disability. So we're constantly, making sure that they have all their needs met, that they have access to medical care, and that they're able to live out their lives and final moments with dignity.
They're all really special, but any particular one or two really special residents that has been with you for a long time?
Percival is a potbelly pig. He is our oldest pig here at the sanctuary. Came from severe neglect, and when he arrived, he was very, very angry and aggressive. And since then, he's softened, and he's a big love bug, and he's 19 years old now. We also have Radar, who is 38 years old. He's a donkey, and he was born without eyes, and he's absolutely incredible. Unless you come close to him, you don't realize that he's actually blind.
That's right. And I actually heard him when I was there this last winter. I heard him in the barn and I was like, a donkey! That's super sweet. Now, You guys had a bit of a rough go this year, obviously, with all the snowfall and then the ice storm. And you guys really, really took a hampering. We
did. We took a hit this year. We've had a lot of damage. We've had a lot of repair. Our animals went through a lot this winter in terms of having to be closed up in their areas, not being able to access the outside, and with the extreme weather and the damage to the sanctuary was really hard hitting for us. And our volunteers trying to get everything cleaned up and pay for the damage. And it's been a very, very, very tough winter, one like we've never seen before. So, and with that, we get to spring, so things are looking nicer. But you guys have a really important event coming up for you guys. Tell me a little about that. We do. So on May 24th, we actually have our Sanctuary in Bloom Gala. It's our second annual gala, and we're super excited about it. All of the proceeds for the gala go towards the care and maintenance of our animals. As a not-for-profit, we rely on donations, funding, and fundraising events to help pay the cost of all our medical care and feed for the animals. We don't receive any government funding. So this is a really important event for us. We hope to raise $20,000 towards the care and maintenance of our animals. At the event, the gala, you guys have a bit of a theme going on here. We do. Because of our harsh winter, we thought that Sanctuary in Bloom would be the most appropriate title for our sanctuary, floral themed and happy thoughts and sun. If people go to the gala, what sorts of things can you expect? I understand that you have a guest speaker there this year. We do. We have a guest speaker, Kristen Hartnett. She's actually coming from North Carolina, and they run an incredible sanctuary for farmed animals with special needs. So they have some really tough cases. They actually have a medical facility on site where they can treat their animals. And Kristen has certainly been an inspiration to us and to many people across the world. She's actually been featured on Disney Pets recently, and we are hoping to learn a lot from Kristen. We're trying to establish a hospice facility here at our sanctuary, so we're super excited about having Kristen come and talk about her experiences and, learn a lot from her.
You guys have a really cool menu item. I looked at the options already, and it sounds fantastic.
So we have a vegan menu because to support, the work we do here at the sanctuary. It's a really delicious menu. Lion Gates in Barrie, we have eggplant parmesan and mushroom risotto, chocolate lava cake for dessert. So we're super excited.
That's going to be great. So when and where is it taking place?
It is on Saturday, May 24th. Doors open at 5:30, and it's at the Lions Gate in Barrie. We also have a silent auction that night, which we have many fabulous items from throughout Ontario, many experiences, so we're very excited about that. Lots of opportunity to purchase amazing gifts for people or for yourself at a great cost for a great cause.
If people wanted to get tickets, how can they do so?
People can get tickets on our website, www.ralphiesretreat.ca.
Okay, perfect. And if for whatever reason people can't make it, but they can still obviously donate to you guys, right?
Absolutely. Donations can be made on our website as well. Yes, and we're 100% volunteer run, so all of any donation goes directly towards the care and maintenance of our animals.
The date again is May 24th. Website for more information is ralphiesretreat.ca. And here's a bonus. MJ will be your host for the evening. This is what Barrie's talking about from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakeley, joined by Barrie City Councillor Anne-Marie Kungle, but you're not here on any city-related business today. You're here for a very, very special reason.
I am, Dan. Thank you. I'm here as the CEO of the Alzheimer's Society Simcoe County. Our main office is in Barrie, and it's that time of year as we end April and we're opening up into May. Our walk and major fundraisers happening on May 25th, and so we are welcoming the community to join us in celebrating our 40th anniversary.
40 years.
40 years we've been supported and present across Simcoe County and have just benefited so greatly from the generosity of individuals, volunteers, supporters, staff over the years. So we want to invite everybody to join us at Springwater Provincial Park. We've partnered with Beausoleil First Nation, and we are just so excited to be back in the Simcoe County Forest area. And between the walk will actually have a couple of new additions this year that we're pretty excited to talk to you about.
Well, talk to us about them.
Our new manager, Jamie Grant, with the Alzheimer's Society, is arranging a beautiful celebration, and part of this year is an honor walk. So we have individuals who would like their loved ones' photos to be displayed along the walking path. To reach us, call us at our office. We can arrange to have a photo displayed, and we really want to make sure people feel like they can share who they're walking for and a little bit about why they've been supporting us over the years. We have one team that we will be highlighting in particular this year.
But you're not going to tell us about that, are you?
Well, if you really want to know.
I'd really like to know.
Dan, this is a shout out to the Goldie's Gang. Goldie's Gang really is a team of generations upon generations of family members that have been with us for 25 years. Ron and Sharon Allen are local residents in the Barrie area, and this will be their 25th celebration and also their last year fundraising. So we're going to put a beautiful big bow on all of their contributions. They're out there gathering donations now, and we just really want to say thank you to the whole family between Ron and Sharon and their children and grandchildren, the amazing support and attention they brought to the work that we do.
Any idea how much they've raised over those years?
I think we're talking well over $60,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been incredible and continues to grow, and their support for us and the way in which they're ambassadors of the work that we do, I think it's helping to let people know, don't wait to reach out. We're here. We can help. So if you're uncertain, please just don't hesitate to give us a call.
Do you have an idea of the numbers of people who are affected by this?
We know it's probably an underestimation. We typically talk about well over 12,000 individuals. And when we say that, we know that about 80% of the individuals we serve each year are caregivers. So we know that whether you're an individual living with dementia or Alzheimer's disease or being supported through a loved one, our services basically are still provided free to those individuals across the county.
And it's a difficult thing to deal with. Not that other diseases aren't, but this, I think, is particularly difficult in that how it affects people's minds and the distance that seems to come between families as a result of it. Not physical distance, of course, but not remembering who is who anymore. And it's been in my family as well. I saw it with my mother and my grandmother when my grandmother was going through it, and my mother would go to visit and had no idea who was visiting, was just happy somebody came to see her.
Yeah, and all three of my grandmothers had a different experience around their symptoms of dementia. And so I think you're right. The individuals that we are connected with talk a little bit about the struggle with, understanding what's to come, and that's very different for each person's experience. There are different resources along the way, and sometimes it's harder for us who are experiencing the loss of being recognized by a loved one, but it doesn't mean we can't help individuals live well and thrive. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's also this growing awareness that as we deal with struggling with a diagnosis or living with a change, ways in which we are helping to educate the public. So we do what's called dementia-friendly training for businesses, police officers, paramedic services, and really libraries are becoming strong partners. So we're bringing programming into community, but we're doing that with training because we think if we can help to educate people on how we might communicate differently, how we might receive an individual who walks into your business, we're also creating more inclusive communities, and everyone can benefit from that.
And the more we know, the more knowledge we have, the better equipped we are to deal with it and help people along.
You're right, and there's so much you can get prepared for. So whatever stage in your support to a loved one, or if you are coming back from a diagnosis and you're uncertain about how to inform yourself and your family members, even start to make plans. So it's even regardless of having a diagnosis, it's never too early to really think about what your wishes are if things should change in your life. And so it's a good conversation, but also one where we can remove some of the stigma about hesitating to talk a bit about decisions that might be difficult. But when we know the wishes of a loved one at any stage or at any situation, regardless of, being connected to Alzheimer's, then I think it creates a healthy space for people to know how best to support you.
It's very, very difficult for people to come to grips with what's going on and accept it. And you're trying to help that along. We
have a range of services. So most of the public, I think, knows that we're one of 26 societies across Ontario, and all of us are there to support you. So whether you're a caregiver out of region, you can reach out to any one of us. But locally, if you support local, it stays local to our programming. So in addition to education and support groups, we are also growing our programs around what we call social recreation. And we're really getting into art, music, and movement. And we're starting to see individuals reconnecting with loved ones. So being able to step out of maybe being in a caregiver role and actually enjoy doing an activity with someone you love. And sometimes we see those bright sparks and moments of being able to share in a memory that is a fond recollection of a time together. So there's beautiful spaces and activities that we're doing where families are actually being able to talk a little bit about positive impacts and having positive experiences with a loved one that they might thought wasn't possible any longer.
So it's not a great thing when it affects your family, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's not, and we're here to help. And I think a lot of it is getting ready and dealing with sometimes the unknown and uncertainty. but there are so many beautiful supports along the way that sometimes, I've even been at fault of this where I wait too long to ask for help. And asking for help doesn't mean I'm not capable about doing something for a loved one that is important to me. And we know dignity is important, and we know helping people live to their fullest can look very differently for others. So whatever you're at around your stage for kind of readiness for outreach, don't hesitate, because you might not need us now, but whether you want to volunteer, if this is a cause important to you, whether you want to come out and help to donate $5 or fundraise $500, we know that it's touching families. We know that the more we talk about it, the more people start to open up about their experience with a direct family member or a neighbor. And people seem to want to play a role around making sure that they can help. And so there's so many different options.
All right, here's your chance to ask for some help. Tell us how people can get involved with the walk if they want to actually do the walk, how if they can't do the walk for whatever reason but want to donate, how they can go about doing that.
So you can call our office if that's easiest for you and get information at your fingertips. So our number is 705-722-1066. You can ask for Kim or Jamie. So just dial extension 221 and you'll get directed to us. You can also go online and register today. So registration's open. We would love to see you there. So our website is www.alzheimer.ca/Simcoe County. So don't hesitate to reach out. We've put that up front on our website. It's easy to register today, and we're hoping that whether you feel connected to someone you're immediately supporting now or you have in the past, we want to see your face and say thank you. So on May 25th at the Springwater Provincial Park from 11 till 2, we'll have a range of activities. We have the Barrie Public Art Club coming out. We have a caricaturist, and we will have several different surprises and celebrations. So know that it's a family-friendly event. You can bring your dog on a leash, and you're part of our community, and we want to thank you for being so.
Beyond the walk, if people want to get involved, they want to volunteer, they want to help the organization, how do they go about doing that?
We're always looking for volunteers, but making sure we can match you with something that you really care about. So give us a call. Again, 705-722-1066, and we'll connect you with Jamie Grant, who is our community development manager, and she's supporting everything from volunteers. And so we do have volunteers in in-home rec programming, coming out and supporting our Minds in Motion and our art programs at the McLaren. So if you have an idea, something you'd like to do that maybe we haven't thought about yet, we welcome those ideas.
Anne-Marie, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dan.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian, MJ, and Julius for chipping in, to Matt Ladder for his technical touch, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakeley. Hope you'll join us again next week.